Hello everyone, welcome to another video. Now today we're going to be taking a look at and talking about the Simucube 2 Pro wheelbase. Now if you've followed the channel long enough, you'll know that I actually bought one of these about 3 years ago along with a Simucube 2 Sport for the second rig, but regretfully I didn't make a video about my Simucube wheelbase, but Simucube have sent me a Simucube 2 Pro to test, use, create some content, and thankfully given me the opportunity to make the video that I never did. So the Simucube 2 was released 6 years ago now, and since that time lots of new players have entered the sim racing space. So I suppose the big question is, 6 years on, is the Simucube 2 Pro still worthy of all the hype? Well, before we answer that, the necessary disclaimer: Simucube sent me this wheelbase free of charge to test, use, create some content, but Simucube don't have any creative control over this video and they don't see it until you do. And I'll go on to say that I'm not affiliated with Simucube and I don't have any referral link. So the link down in the description is just a bog standard link with no commission for me, but no discount for you. Although I'm pretty sure there are some creators on YouTube who I believe have a discount code. But let's get real. I completely understand the game and I know the reasons why I've been sent this wheelbase. It's not because I'm a nice, jolly chap. I get it. The more eyes on a product, the better. So just to be clear, this is not a sponsored video and it's not an advertisement. So in 2007, Granite Devices was formed, which is the parent company of Simucube, and their business was being involved in industrial projects. But in 2015, they started planning their first direct drive wheelbase, and in 2017, entered the sim racing scene with the launch of the original Simucube 1. This was followed a couple of years later in 2019 with the Simucube 2, which is essentially what we have here. But obviously, since then, there have been significant software updates to keep things working as they should. So there are different wheelbases in the Simucube 2 range. The Sport, which is their cheapest offering, the Pro, which is the one we have here, and then there is the Ultimate. Right, I'll give you some specs about this particular wheelbase. It's got 25 Newton meters of torque, which is way more than 99.9% of people will ever use. In fact, I don't know anyone who runs a wheelbase at that strength. And if anyone does, they're a little bit mental. It's got a maximum torque slew rate of 8 Newton meters per millisecond, which is how long it takes the wheelbase to get to peak torque, and a 22-bit sensor, which determines how many counts there are per revolution. The higher the number, the better in both cases. Now, I'm not going to dive deep into the specifics of each component used, as that's not what this channel is about. I'm a sim racer, that's what I do, and that's probably what you expect from my channel. But I own and I've tested a variety of different direct drive wheelbases, and I've been doing this long enough to know or to have an idea of what feels right and what doesn't. But bear in mind, we all like different things, so these are very much my own thoughts. So in the box, you obviously get the wheelbase, the emergency stop button, which cuts torque to the motor, the power supply, USB cable, and an antenna if you wanted to use a wireless steering wheel. The wheelbase is fitted with the base side QR, but bear in mind you will have to buy a wheel side QR for whichever wheel you decide to use. Mounting it was super simple, even without an extra pair of hands, with just 4 bolts into the front of the base securing it to the wheel deck. Plugged it in, downloaded the software, and it was up and running in literally a few minutes. Now, speaking of software, historically, when I've used a Simucube wheelbase, and even this wheelbase when I started testing it a few weeks ago, Simucube had the True Drive software, but this has now been replaced with the Simucube Tuner 2.5, which enables you to control the wheelbase and any other Simucube products in one place without having to have a separate piece of software for each device, which is really useful for me because I'm also running the Simucube active pedals. Now, this version also supports profile switching, which will automatically detect the sim and the car and switch to whichever profile you've chosen for that vehicle. There's loads of sliders and things you can tinker with in the software to tune it to your liking, but there's also lots of profiles within the software that you can download and use, including mine. Now, onto the most important thing with any wheelbase, which is the driving experience. Now, you may or may not know that my sim of choice in recent years has been iRacing, and the last time I used the Simucube 2, 360 Hz force feedback wasn't a thing on iRacing, but in recent times when I've been using my Acertech wheelbase, I've been using a third-party force feedback application to give me that little bit more detail, as 360 Hz force feedback isn't yet supported for iRacing on an Acertech base. But with the Simucube 2 Pro, I didn't feel like I needed to run any apps to get that level of detail. The wheelbase is quick, lots of information from the road surface, and I can feel exactly what the car's doing with regards to understeer, oversteer, and a general feeling of weight in the car. So, who is this base for? Well, no matter which current direct drive wheelbase you go for, it's going to be good. I can't really think of a bad one which I've tested, but there is a reason why this is one of the most popular high-end wheelbases on the market, which is used by many pro esports drivers. It's a no fuss, does what it says on the tin kind of deal. Are there better wheelbases out there on the market? On paper, yes, but I've tried long and hard to think of something to criticise or improve upon, from the software, the installation, and the general driving experience, but I can't. This wheelbase is for the sim racer who wants to go quicker with a few spare quid in their pocket, who wants to eliminate that question mark if the wheelbase is slowing them down. Personally, I don't think I could go quicker than I have been on the Simucube 2 Pro. Now, I've been running this base now for a few weeks, and in my opinion, the best way to test new equipment is to use it as intended. And if you don't notice it when racing, then it's doing a decent job. I've had some really impressive results in the top split on both iRacing and Le Mans Ultimate, but I didn't think about the wheelbase when driving. It just worked and felt in sync with what was happening on screen, if that makes sense. But there is a reason why somebody would choose another wheelbase over this one, and it's the price. In the UK, this will set you back around £1,200 for the wheelbase, including VAT. But then, of course, you've got to buy the wheelside QR, which will be about another £80. So by the time you add shipping, you're almost at 1,300 quid. But as I always say, nice things don't come cheap. But if you're happy with the no fuss, clean look of this wheelbase, and you don't see yourself in the future fancying LEDs on the wheelbase like Acertech have, for example, I don't see any reason why you would need to swap it out for something else down the line. So, to summarise, this wheelbase and software has been 6 years in the making, and it really shows. Installation was a breeze. Software is excellent, and the driving experience is fantastic. Price-wise, yes, it's expensive, but that's pretty much the going rate for any high-end wheelbase. So, to answer my original question, is the Simucube 2 Pro wheelbase still deserving of all the hype and praise in 2025? Absolutely, 100%. So I want to say a huge thank you to Simucube for sending me out this unit to test and use. As I mentioned earlier, I'll leave a link down below to the Simucube website if you want to go and check it out. But Simucube do have a good reseller network, so it might be worthy doing a bit of a search online to get the best deal for you locally. As always, thanks for watching. Have a great week. See you later. Cheers.